What up? What up? Am I on my own? Happy Sunday, everybody. It's my maybe I'll try to make this a weekly thing, but who knows? But happy wind down session. Happy wind down from the weekend. Are you all ready for another start of probably a really tough week? Hopefully it's not too bad, but if it is, don't worry because I'm sure we're all experiencing some level of anxiety knowing that we have Monday tomorrow. And since that could be possible for a lot of us, I kind of wanted to talk about imposter syndrome, especially in tech. I think a lot of the imposter syndrome is pretty relevant, especially even in my career. I think a lot of people, they only associate imposter syndrome with just junior developers or people just like trying to break into tech, but myself included, I have a lot of imposter syndrome. So hopefully when more people come on, people can ask questions about imposter syndrome and I can answer it to my best abilities. But at the same time, I want to talk about even imposter syndrome as an experienced developer. So I think this is a pretty important topic, and maybe this will be a topic maybe I'll make a dedicated video on. But yeah, let's get kind of into it. I was like reading this article actually on Medium, and it said that 58% of tech employees experience imposter syndrome. Here's how to overcome it. And they talk about 5 things actually. What is imposter syndrome? What causes imposter syndrome? What are the effects of imposter syndrome, and how do I overcome imposter syndrome? So, what is imposter syndrome? And I'm just gonna kind of summarize it as I go. But it's essentially feeling of self doubt and not feeling like you're capable of doing the job right. So you feel like you're not intelligent, you feel like you're not creative, you feel like you just can't do the job, or maybe you got hired for something and they're asking you to do something you've never done before. So the first thing you kind of experience is, oh my God, how do I do this? I've never done this before. Where do I go? Where do I start? I don't know what I'm doing. And then you're going to start feeling like a fraud. And all these things go like racing through your head. Like, why was I assigned to this task? I don't really have someone to pair with on this. Like, how should I be approaching this situation? And that's kind of what imposter syndrome feels like. You feel like you're not qualified to be in that situation. You're not qualified to be a software engineer. And I'm not even surprised that 58% of the people in tech really experience this, because in tech you're kind of asked to wear a lot of different hats, and myself included. And sometimes you're gonna feel that kind of that anxiety, just the pressure of feeling like you have to deliver, and it really is. Sometimes it's mentally exhausting. Hey Donovan, how are you doing? This is a chill out Sunday session where I talk about my opinions about imposter syndrome, but at the same time I've been kind of reading some articles and just sharing my feelings about it. And if you have any thoughts or comments or just overall, any software developer questions, please let me know. You could always feel free to share your expertise. And hey, let me know how's your new job going. I know you got a JavaScript position, so congratulations to you, sir. Job well done, hopefully. But it's good to see you on the stream. Hey. What up, guys? Hello. So yeah, I was just reading this article. Maybe I'll just share the article because that might be easier to do. And then we could kind of like read it together and then see how we feel. Let's see if I can share this one. Yeah. So, what causes imposter syndrome? Yeah, that's a pretty interesting one. It says rather than feeling joy and congratulating yourself on the new accomplishment, negative thoughts about whether the success was well earned can begin to manifest and evolve into doubts about your competency. It's a similar story when it comes to acquiring new skills. In the first few months of a job, for example, you're still in the state of conscious competence when you're aware that you're still learning and therefore not excelling at your job. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of times imposter syndrome could kick in when you're in that unfamiliar territory state, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new career, everything like that. So it is something that, maybe I'm experiencing a little in my current job because I've been at my company for about 2 months now. So it's definitely has been a kind of an uphill battle to learn all the new technologies, all the new information. But yeah, it's something that I just have to feel like I need to overcome, and there are many ways that you can do it. But eh, yeah, some like I don't know exactly what the best strategy is, but I could always share my thoughts about it. I think if your skills are tested every day at work, you will feel imposter syndrome. Yeah, I agree, but it shouldn't always feel like this state, right? Because obviously you're learning new things, but eventually you're going to get to that familiarity of like, oh, I know what I'm doing and I'm contributing to the team. And as long as I think there has to be a right balance, right? Because if you just know everything all the time, then you're going to be really bored. So there's like a right balance of challenging yourself, but at the same time, not always feels like you're not getting the material. Oh, this music sucks. I'm just gonna pause it. Gotta move to America so I don't miss you. What time is it right now in the Europe area? Let's continue on. People who suffer from imposter syndrome perpetuate the notion that they have to work extra hard to achieve success rather than attributing their success to their own natural talent. They do double the work as their peers in order to prove they are worthy of being there. The result, a working life riddled with anxiety, exhaustion, and potentially even resulting in a major burnout. So that's one thing that I also want to emphasize too is that maybe if you are feeling this kind of anxiety at work, are you doing more work than is required of you? Because I think there is something good about being able to say no and just respecting your own time outside of work hours, right? So as long as you can take your breaks and know that, hey, after 6 o'clock p.m., I'm gonna enjoy my life, right? Because if you're getting too much work, that's a major problem. And I really believe that there's something about being able to balance your life where you're not excessively constantly thinking about code all the time because it really, really is really painful. And I get so exhausted after a long day of work where my brain has been challenged to like 110%. So, yeah, like how do we overcome imposter syndrome? Yeah, you might be feeling a little discouraged by all the negative and counterproductive efforts of imposter syndrome, but all is not lost. There are 5 key ways to overcome imposter syndrome. Remember your training, draw from your past experiences, focusing on understanding the organization, identifying your priorities, and find a mentor. So, I mean, to be honest, like right now, I am feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome at work because I'm asked to do a lot of like AWS things that, to be honest, I'm not very good at. But in some ways, I'm like really excited about it because even though it's not my strongest forte. Like generally, you guys all know if you've kind of been on my channel, I do more like front end stuff with Webpack, JavaScript, SaaS styling, all of that stuff. But in terms of the other types of infrastructure, they're not my strength. And fortunately or unfortunately, I'm in a position where I kind of need to work on it. So yeah, it's been a really tough few days of me trying to figure things out, and I have to understand that, look, you've only been here for 2 months, and it is cool that they think that you can do this, and try to put like a positive spin on it. Because as software engineers, we can't just always stick to our niche and always just, I don't know, be comfortable with what we're doing. I think being able to kind of be put in that deep end and just kind of start off and just start working right away has been kind of exciting, but at the same time, it's been a little wearing on my body, wearing on my mind. And I, I think with more experience, I've been able to just admit that, hey, there are certain things I don't know, and it's okay to ask for help. So that's kind of how I've been approaching my imposter syndrome, is reaching out, letting my bosses know that, hey, this isn't my forte, and I know that we need to get certain things done in a specific time frame. How can I put myself in a position to succeed? Because this is not me necessarily saying that I don't want to do this. It's more along the lines of, how do we work together to make sure we can get our goals accomplished? So I think that's super important, is like, remember, your training is not only about like what you know from before, but it's about how do you relay the message correctly, is that way your team and yourself can succeed. Draw from your past experiences. Like, I know at a high level how all of these things work, so that's a good sign. It's just, how do I get to that implementation level and focus it on understanding the organization, right? So in here, for me, I just said that we need to have certain things due by a certain date. How do we make sure that happens, right? So I think all of these things are really important. And someone sent me an Instagram picture. 1 second. My friend is live streaming. He sent the picture. And I think finding a mentor is always a good sign. If you guys can find a mentor, that's always going to be a big plus. So I think this is all good advice. Don't be afraid to ask questions or shadow people to gauge a better sense of how they like to do things. I've always been a big fan of this. And if you have coworkers that are in different time zones, then readjust your schedule so that you could get an hour or two of their time and really learn from them. What are they doing that makes them successful? And that's kind of what my game plan has been, especially because some of my coworkers are in different time zones and whatnot, and you just kind of adjust accordingly if you don't know what you're doing. What helped my imposter syndrome was talking to the senior dev who also have him. Yeah, so I guess that makes you a little bit more comfortable with the fact that you might not know everything, and not even senior developers might not know everything. So that's definitely good to know. And yeah, this is like the general gist of this article that I really liked, where it's just acknowledging that imposter syndrome happens to everybody, right? It's not just junior developers. It's not just people trying to learn how to code for the first time. Even senior developers go through it, because there are certain things that I know I'm good at, and there are certain things I know I'm pretty bad at. And if you're asking me to do things that I'm not the best at, then yeah, I'm going to have to kind of put on my thinking cap and figure things out. But it may not be as fast as what someone else can do, because maybe they're not in that same kind of niche or of coding. So overall, yeah, I mean, I kind of was curious how everyone deals with their version of imposter syndrome, and if you have any like career questions or how to be better during those interviews because of imposter syndrome, like, let me know, because I think that's also another form of imposter syndrome that I notice with a lot of new developers trying to break into the space. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna put on some music, because this is a chill out session. New JavaScript job is going well. I still continue to get imposter syndrome. I even had it at this new JavaScript job a few weeks, and especially since I don't know much. Yeah. So how do you deal with, like, are you like putting in more hours just to get yourself familiar with it? I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with putting in a little bit of extra hours, especially if you feel like you're not really up to speed with them. There's At the end of the day, these skills can only help you. Imagine if you go to a different company and they're looking for someone with also React skills. Why not just take that opportunity to get paid and at the same time help your team? So I think this is really important to also consider. I think we're gonna put a time cap in this live stream today, guys. I got some other things I need to do today. So at exactly around 6 o'clock is when I'll probably end this stream. What's your advice for learning after work? I find time management stressful and it's difficult to learn on the side when you're mentally fatigued. Yeah, I don't think it's sustainable. I think you have to build pockets of time to make sure you're just invested in making sure you can learn this new technology, or if you feel like you're falling behind, to invest a few weeks on it. Because if you try to do that every single day, then it's just not gonna be a good end outcome for you. So it's about making sacrifices that maybe for those first few weeks of really, really putting in those extra reps. But afterwards, once you get yourself kind of familiar with it, hopefully, if you get yourself familiar with it, that's when you could kind of wind down from those extra hours afterwards. So that's kind of what I've been doing lately is like, yeah, I'm a little mentally exhausted and I do need to probably take more breaks. But at the same time, these are just like the hours that I'm gonna put in now, but I guarantee you I'm not gonna do this again. I'm not gonna like put in those kind of hours maybe a month or two later, because hopefully by then I've already gained enough familiarity with this new technology or whatever that I could just kind of do it with less intensity essentially. So I know like there's this culture of the grind and hustle, and you have to grind, hustle, and I'm kind of on board with that, but I know, but not long term. As in, you have to find pockets of time to be able to do that, and then take your breaks when you can. Because if you try to do that, I don't know, all throughout the year, it's just like you just can't do it. Your brain can't do it. Your mind can't do it. Your body can't handle it. It's not sustainable. At the end of the day, you gotta be able to take breaks, talk to your friends, hang out, just do what you need to do to like get your mind off coding. But as long as you're self-aware that, hey, I know that these few weeks are going to be a little bit rough on me because I need to do this, then that's okay in my book. Especially after. Yeah. And I think that's fine. I think, some people say like you shouldn't give your time to your work outside of work. But in this scenario, even for Donovan, I feel like learning React is just a skill that could be just helpful for you technically, right? Yeah, you are like learning React because of work, but at the same time, how translatable is that skill? It's translatable everywhere. Everyone's looking for a front end developer that knows React. So you are only benefiting yourself by doing this. And at the same time, you're also getting paid. So it's like killing two birds with one stone here. And I just think long term wise, learning a technology that is translatable, and maybe your work is asking you to just learn this even though you don't know anything about it, I don't know, I think it's totally worth it, right? So me learning like AWS stuff, it's totally worth it because every company uses AWS to a certain extent. So it's really good that you are taking that time out of your schedule to learn more about it, because eventually it will really pay off. I can guarantee it. Honestly, learning React when I did outside of work was probably the best decision I've ever made in my life, because it literally got me my startup job as a front end developer, and they really loved the fact that I knew a lot of React because that's what I was doing outside of work. So my hair is just bonkers right now. What were some of the projects you did to learn HTML, CSS, JavaScript? This is a great question. And maybe I've been a little bit more fortunate enough where I've only worked on my projects from my coding bootcamp. And then right after that, I just jumped right into working for clients through my job. So I built 2 projects using Ruby and Ruby on Rails and templating. And I wasn't very good, honestly, with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I think what really helped me, and it might not apply to a lot of people, is like when I started working at an agency, they gave me a lot of front end projects to work on. So for a month and a half, all I did was HTML and CSS on an Angular application, and that really improved my CSS skills. I had to, because luckily I was working with a senior developer, and he was really good at building out scalable CSS. And from that perspective, even though I didn't know what I was doing, of course I had a bit of imposter syndrome, and he was not a very nice person in terms of pairing. So I really thought I didn't know anything. But until after I left that company, did I realize, holy crap, my CSS skills are actually pretty good. My JavaScript skills are decent. And that's how I kind of landed my second gig. So I think if you can find a project where you just really, maybe what you can do is go on like dribble.com and just like practice building out your own like CSS. You could just build out a example project using CSS and whatnot. In terms of JavaScript projects, if you really want to get good at JavaScript projects, I highly recommend just practicing building out like really simple tools like calculators, like what do you call it? Accordions, maybe like a tic-tac-toe game. Like these aren't projects that you want to advertise into like employers as their like portfolio projects, but actually getting good at JavaScript that would be something I would recommend. And then building out your whole building out like 1 or 2 projects, really good projects for yourself. You're going to practice HTML and CSS. So I think that would be my 2 cents. I probably, now that I think about it, I think a lot of imposter syndrome with aspiring developers is because they don't know exactly what to be doing. Like the motivation is there, the eagerness is there, but they don't have a true game plan of what they need to do to get to becoming a software engineer, because there's just so many different ways to do it. And unfortunately or fortunately, like we have it's good that we have so much abundance of resources, but wouldn't it be nice if someone could just be like, hey, if you follow this route, this is how you become a software engineer? But there really isn't. And that's probably why a lot of imposter syndrome kicks in, because maybe you're spending hours, days, months on some type of platform that was actually really bad, and you're like, wait, maybe I'm not meant to be a software engineer. It's like, oh, well, maybe your teaching style or learning style can be different from what other people find to be beneficial, right? So I think this industry is very tough from that perspective of people not understanding where to start. And in some ways, that's why I kind of recommend like coding boot camps at times. Like I can't recommend a specific one because I think every coding boot camp is a little different. But what a coding boot camp provided for me, at least back in 2015, and obviously 2021, it could be a little different because it's virtual now. But what I really needed was structure of, am I spending my time appropriately on my learning skills? Because obviously coding is already tough as is, but what if you're spending hours and hours on things that actually don't help you find a job, right? So I'm pretty sure I got pretty lucky. And in 2021, it's a little bit more difficult. It's hard for me to just say a blanket statement, coding boot camps are better, because like the content has changed from 6 years ago, and you have to do your research and make sure you understand what your best learning style is. And I would highly recommend anybody that is considering a coding bootcamp to talk to alumni, talk to other like talk to teachers if possible, try to shadow a class, all of these things to make sure is this type of learning the way best for you, right? That's my 2 cents about learning how to code. No problem. It really is. Honestly, the simplest advice is to build things because I mean, growing up, going to elementary, middle school, high school, even college, all of it revolved around getting a good grade. It wasn't about, oh, do you actually know the material that you're learning? And you would think that if you get a good grade, then you understand the material. But that's quite not true. Like, it could be true, but it's not 100% true. And I talk about this in one of my Sharing Developer Story interviews that I'm actually going to be posting this week. Wouldn't it be good to know why you're learning the things that you're learning? Some people, like, you just go to school for the sake of learning, but you don't know why you're learning the things that you're learning. And that's why it's never translatable. And just like coding too, don't just learn coding for the sake of learning coding. You have to be able to do something with it. Otherwise, you're asking yourself, why am I understanding variables? Why am I learning for loops? Why am I learning while loops? They serve no purpose in isolation, but when you're able to actually build things with the code that you're learning, that's when it starts clicking. And even, myself, when I was saying about imposter syndrome with like AWS stuff, I know why those things are useful. So it makes me even more motivated to want to learn these things. And just like you in coding, when building projects will be your biggest why, and why you need to know these little array API functions like map, filter, all of these things. Those are all super important to know because it helps you build your projects. So this is a really good advice, and it's a very simple but effective advice. Every time I see a job posting asking for all sorts of skills, really jumpstarts the imposter. Yeah. Yes, sir. I completely agree. But from my understanding with these job postings, sometimes they post more than they're just trying to get that unicorn developer. So, and maybe if you fill out like 2 or 3 out of 5 of those skills, then you should be able to be fine. So I would still consider applying. I think sometimes they like want, I don't know, they want like a 20-year React developer, even though React hasn't been out for that long. So that is the life of a developer. I think generally on Sundays, I like to ask this question too. What kind of videos are you all interested in watching? I feel like I'm really close to, I think I'm almost at 2K now. Let's see, where am I at right now? 1.79. Hey, everyone. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers. Can you believe it? Holy moly. For anyone that's been with me, I don't know, when I like 200, 300 subscribers, thank you for sticking by. I've been trying to stay as consistent as I can. 2 videos per week. Trying. It's not easy. But even with YouTube, man, imposter syndrome is insane because you see all these other great coding YouTubers who have way bigger following than I do, and I'm wondering, like, is it even worth it? Like, do people find actual value from my channel? Or people are on my channel, they're like, oh, is it, his video quality is not as good. And then I think about that as well. Like, should I invest in a new lens? All of these things, man, as imposter syndrome is everywhere. And it sucks because it really can affect your motivation and your consistency. There are times where I really don't want to make a video because what's the point? Are people actually enjoying this? But I do get very, very I get grateful and appreciative when there's a lot of activity on, like even today, 30 minutes in, we have 8 people watching. Our Discord is relatively active. I get to like catch up with people like Donovan and ask him how his job is doing, because man, who would have thought just having a YouTube channel I could connect with all of you people here and just ask how you're doing. I think that's another thing of how to get over imposter syndrome, is just letting it out. Let people know, whoever it is, whether they're developers, friends, or family, even if they don't understand it. I think it's good to just open up and just share your vulnerable side, and that's kind of what I did last week. Um, I just shared with my friends saying like, man, I feel pretty burnt out right now. I'm on a low because I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Nothing is working. Everything's just breaking. And after you vent a little bit, you just get back to work and figure it out again. So I would highly recommend to talk to people. Just express yourself, saying, "Hey, I really don't feel good about this at the moment." And maybe if you have good friends, they'll console you and just like letting you know, "Hey, you're doing fine. Maybe you're new here, or you're just figuring things out." And then after you take a breather, stop looking at the code. I think that's another thing I would recommend is don't like be so intense on the code all the time. Sometimes it's so counterproductive to not take a break. So highly recommend to take a lot of breaks if possible. Yes, sir. How was everyone's weekend though? Actually, now that I'm here, I was on a trip this past weekend, taking a break from my own imposter syndrome. I went to upstate New York, took a break. It was really nice. I'm really grateful because the internet wasn't very good. So I forced myself to not use my phone and not force myself not to use a computer. I think I get a lot of anxiety during the weekend sometimes because I know I'm trying to put myself on this 2 videos per week um, schedule, which is not easy. But it was really good to just get away from some technology. And at the same time, I also wanted to catch up with you guys to see how you're all doing. So taking a break from code by watching this video. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're enjoying it, because without you guys or any of you here, I would not be able to. I would just probably be talking to myself, and then I'd probably have to delete this video because there's no one on. So it's all good. Thanks for coming by. Are you still doing the man? What is that thing that you were doing? I remember you were doing a bunch of like American Ninja Warrior style exercises. Is that right? How do you even put that into words? But I remember you were doing a bunch of these like crazy jumps and whatnot. So are you still doing that? Trying to take the first step of getting not sure where to start. I mean, it's starting is always the hard part, right? But crazy enough, like I know people always say it, but why not just try click here? It says get started. It's free. You could literally just start right here and just learn some basic HTML, CSS, responsive web design, CSS Flexbox, and then you could just move on to JavaScript after. Honestly, like this is a great place to start. And if you like it, cool, keep learning and figure out other courses that could be helpful for you to build out your projects. But literally everything's here. You could just run the tests, reset your code. This is an inline comment. Can't spell inline. And you could just do it. This is a multi-step. This is a multi-comment. Oh no. Yeah, boom, 1%. Done. Now we're all starting to learn how to code, right? It's just I don't know. I think obviously these first lectures are going to be super easy and whatnot, but I don't see why you can't just start from ground zero here. And then if you need to invest in a little bit more money and just figure out what else you want to do, obviously you could do Udemy, Udacity, whatnot. But yeah, start here. Start here, friend. Yeah, free code camp. I use it, but it also helps to keep my mind still in that coding mode, not get totally distracted. Yeah. Man, is everyone coding right now? I feel like such a slacker. Maybe I should be coding. I'm actually gonna be coding maybe in an hour, 30 minutes, maybe after dinner. So that's the plan. I wanted to just take a little bit of a break after I came back from my upstate, talk to you all, and then learn some more AWS stuff. That's good. That's really good. Shoot, yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing for your live streams? Are you teaching code or what? Yeah, don't honestly. I was very nervous about my first live stream. I don't even know what I was doing. I was so nervous about my first post actually. And if you ever watch my older videos where I do an actual like me talking in front of a camera video, the quality was so bad. My mic was not the best. The video was not that good. But you live and you learn, right? So I highly encourage you to just keep doing it, practice, iterate, and eventually you'll get there. Not saying that I got there because I'm not even that big, but yeah, it's all about consistency. Front end mentor challenge. Ooh, that sounds intriguing. Yeah, I need a hobby. I need a hobby. I think YouTube is my hobby, but sometimes it feels like work. So I don't know if if that hobby has now just become another like potential side hustle. Hopefully, when things start opening up, it'll be a little bit more safer to go out and go to the gym and just exercise. I used to do like a lot of boxing classes or hit training, hit courses, and that's what kept me going a lot more. But these days, it's working out at home is just not the same. Yeah, but Pardeep, hopefully I answered your question of where do I start? Literally start there. And if you maybe that's not good for you, then I would look into some Udemy classes, either like Code Steel, Coding Phase. What else is there? And Angela something. I think she has a course as well, and Andre something. But yeah, I mean, if you want to use Coding Phase, it's $16 a month if you use my referral. So if you just do codingphase.com/techrally, and if you want to take a shot at it, go ahead. No pressure though. I mean, there are definitely a lot of free resources that I would try out first and see if you actually like coding. Hello. Hello. Feel free to message me in the Discord group channel. Like, I don't really do as many DMs anymore because I've been kind of getting flooded, to be honest. But I'll try to be. I'm pretty active on the Discord group channel, so feel free to message the group there. Taking off here. Have a good. All right, Donovan. I'll see you later. Good luck on your React courses, friend. Thank you so much for the input. In 6 to 10 months from now, I'm going to get back to you. Please do. Maybe you could send over a project as well. Rooting for you, Brad. Every time I start a new project, it's a syndrome imposter. If I look, no, not at all. I use Google all the time. So don't feel like just because you, if anything, what I feel makes a good software engineer is the ability to ask a question the right way. That way, when you actually search for it on Google, you'll find the answer. So I think what new developers have a hard time with errors is that they don't really understand what the error is. Number one, maybe they're not even reading the errors. And number two, if they read it, they don't understand what the error is actually saying. So the more experience you have, the more you're able to Google in a smarter way. And there's nothing wrong with Googling. Googling is just part of the game. Are free code projects good enough for portfolio even when you do I think it's good for practice, but if you can, I would try to build your own project. And you don't have to like build something completely from scratch. Maybe you could take some elements from the old projects and then integrate into your own. But I would use what you learned from your past to just kind of build something that is new and a little bit more fresh from your perspective. Because ideally, you want to showcase what you're capable of doing. And if you're able to build a full stack application and go through the struggle of doing it, that's probably going to be the best outcome for you. Even when you go to the interview, you can kind of explain thoroughly what you did, both front and back end. So, hey, Michelle, how are you doing? Bro, you don't. I know. I was really contemplating it, but I don't know. I came I came back a little early today, so just wanted to do a quick live stream. I'll probably end in like 15 minutes because I have actually a lot of crap I need to do. So, but I was just curious if people would join, and now there's 15 people. Yeah, no problem. My don't use Google for your problem. Is it because you're taking a test? I can't imagine any company that won't let you use Google while working. So that's the reason why I say Google is okay. But obviously, with exams, they're going to be a little bit more kind of restrictive on what you can and what you can't do. I don't even know why I did this. Hello. FCC is doing a major makeover to data science, Python centric. Are they replace? They're not going to replace the old content. I just assume that they're going to be adding on to it. So, yeah, I think data science is a great path to go into. I'm just not as familiar with it compared to web development because that's kind of just what I've kind of put my stake into with that and specifically front end development. So I'll be very interested in that. Maybe that's something I'll do in my free time. But low key, I am pretty busy with work and YouTube. I haven't been able to work on as many side projects as I would love to. But I don't know. I enjoy doing this, and this is kind of what I like doing. So hopefully, it's beneficial for every one of you guys that are watching, and I could give you some invaluable content. Well, yeah, feel free to join my Discord channel if you want to join a community of software engineers, ask questions about careers. I have some pretty cool moderators, DJNT and DGNT and DJ Norris. They're both experienced software engineers, and actually, DGNT just got a job. So, congratulations. Welcome back to the corporate world. Sucker. Maybe we could do an interview actually in the future and talk about how was it like trying to get a job after X amount of months. I remember you were mentioning the struggle was real. Some interview failures. And what else was there? Coding challenges that weren't the most easiest things in the world. Did you say someone said that they thought you were a junior developer because you weren't able to answer questions? That's so messed up. I don't even know why they would even include that in the comment, knowing that you're an experienced developer. Hey, yeah, DGNT has fans. No, that's not true. I'm not. I'm not gonna get too big, but nah. Of course, I won't forget my fans. They're not even fans. You guys are all just my friends. Just, I mean, as long as you're in my Discord channel, you're all my friends. Otherwise, I'm kidding. Do you think about updating your tutorial about Vue.js? I don't think so, to be honest. It's something that I did in the beginning because I was kind of uncomfortable speaking in front of a camera, and tutorials were kind of my thing where I felt comfortable talking at the same time writing code. I like teaching, but my last video where I did a React tutorial with Pokemons, they didn't do too hot in terms of views. And I know it's not all about the views, but maybe I feel like my channel direction has kind of shifted a little bit where I mostly talk about tech and how to break into tech because there really is a gap in not just learning how to code, but after you learn how to code, how do I actually get a job? So that's kind of where my main focus has been. But there are a lot of good Vue tutorials out there, and I don't think. I mean, of course, more the merrier. But I don't think me doing a tutorial on Vue is gonna be that much more beneficial. I just feel that what I'm trying to tackle with my channel would have a lot more impact in the future. So I'm just kind of right now building the foundations for my specific goals, and tutorials don't quite fall into that category now. Savage. What a savage company. I'm not even like laughing at you. I'm just laughing at a company could just say that. Will you stream on Twitch too? I don't know. Would you guys want to see me on Twitch? I know other YouTubers have started doing that. And I think it's a different type of audience. I'll consider it, but at the moment, since my subscribers count is not that high, I just feel like most of the people, if I go to Twitch, no one would actually watch me on Twitch. Does that make sense? I mean, there's only like technically 13 out of 1,700 people of my subscribers watching. Maybe if I scheduled my live streams, it would have more viewers. But since I don't, that's probably another reason why a lot of people don't show up. But to me, 13 is a lot actually. But I don't know. Maybe I'll consider it. I do need to take that tutorial from DJNT on how to use Streamlabs and all of that stuff because right now I'm using StreamYard, which is like a paid service. But yeah, I think Twitch could be something cool. Maybe I could play some games as well and just kind of be a gamer and coder channel. Who knows? Oh, that you know what would be a good idea actually, because I know I think Chris Sean does this a little bit. Is he makes content for YouTube that's like not him coding, but on Twitch he actually does a little bit more coding in there. And I think that could be pretty helpful if I do like a Twitch channel for actual coding and YouTube just stick with regular content. I don't know. Something to think about. Maybe if DGNT can make my Twitch channel for me, I'll consider it. Tips for new hires. I just joined my firm. Hey, congratulations, first of all. It must have not been easy. So, hey, really happy for you. I'm sure it's going to be a really exciting opportunity. But tips, I would just work with a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. And I don't really know what your background is, but I wouldn't just kind of take a break now that you got the job. I'm only gonna study code during my time at work. And I talked about this in the beginning of my stream about you can't consistently be like grinding and hustling after work because mentally you are going to be exhausted. But I would say for like the first few months, think of it like a probationary period where you're going to be working at work and then working outside of work. And obviously, take breaks. Don't burn yourself out that you can't work the next day. But I'll consider like the 8 hours to be minimum. And then afterwards, really, really get your skills up so that you can feel like you're like a contributor to the team. And has nothing to do with like your company getting more hours out of you or whatever. Just imagine this as you are learning skills that are translatable to somewhere else. Like you're just upping your skills. That's all you're doing. And if for some weird reason that next day that company decides to say, hey, we can't keep you anymore because budgetary concerns, at least you've spent the time to really, really get to honing your skills, learning new things, and just maximizing your opportunity to, number one, justify more money, better title, all these like things that you're doing is not for the company, but imagine you're doing it for yourself. So that will be my recommendation. Do a leak code speed. Dude, I'm not that good at leak code, honestly. It takes me a hot minute or 2 or 3 hours to figure some stuff out. Yeah, 3 months is actually pretty quick, so I'm very happy for you. Twitch for developer only side project ideas. Yeah, maybe. That'd be cool. Tip number 1, punch the biggest guy in the yard to assert dominance. That's awesome. I'm pretty sure he was in reference to me, but this is actually not a bad idea either. Yeah, I'll say that. There's some luck involved. I also got rejected by a lot of companies, so you know, it's not like I just got accepted to like 15 companies and they're all like desperately trying to get me to work for them. It's just sometimes it's the luck of the draw. What's the coding equivalent of a punch in the face? Oh man, I got too many trolls here in my channel at this moment. Nah, DevOps directive is super legit. Sid, what's up? Thanks for joining the stream. Hmm. Side pro, you know, side projects are super hard. I realized trying to do a side project by yourself when you're working full time is pretty difficult. I think the best case scenario that you can have is having one other person that is really good at things that you're not good at, and vice versa. That way, it's just so much easier to build out a full stack application. The only problem that I notice with that is if your partner is not as motivated as you are on that specific idea, then it will go nowhere. And it only takes one or two. If you're like in a team of three, it only takes one person to not be motivated that 1 week, and then the project just dies. So you need to find people that are just as obsessed with you with that idea or that side project to work on for it to really like prosper. Otherwise, it's so hard to work in a team outside of work. The only reason why you can work at a team inside of work is because you're getting paid. But imagine you're not getting paid and working on this side project on your free time and it goes nowhere. It's so difficult to keep going when that one person is just not as motivated as you are. Been lurking. Imposter isn't important. Yeah, so I think we kind of diverged a little bit from the imposter syndrome topic, but it's I kind of brought it up because I felt a little bit of it, not a little bit, a lot of it these past few weeks, and it's just because I was talking about how I'm mostly working as a front end developer and just doing more like Webpack, React, CSS, HTML, and more like high level, like scaling front end applications. But now I'm kind of been tasked to do a lot more like AWS stuff, which is probably your wheelhouse. And I haven't been the best at it, but so I feel like since I've, when you get a skill that you're really good at, when you're not as good at it, when you're not as good at it, doing something, when you're, I don't know, can't even say it properly, but when you're assigned to do something different and you're just not as good as you're like normally are with other things, then you start feeling that anxiety and the imposter syndrome. It's like, oh shoot, this isn't clicking right away. And for that reason, I wanted to talk about it, where it's like, even if things aren't clicking, you still got to figure out ways to address it. And for me, it's just acknowledging like, yeah, this isn't my forte, but it's such a good skill to learn. And I should see it from a positive perspective of, asking for help when I don't know what I'm actually doing, and also just putting in the extra hours after work to just really understand how things work. That way, these skills are translatable, and like knowing AWS is such an important concept in general because so many companies use it. So I think for me, I'm just trying to see a lot of positives behind it. Reject the PR from a no, you should just close the PR. Figuring out when to ask for help was key for. Yeah, same. And I was talking about how if you have coworkers that aren't in the same time zone as you, try to figure out ways where you can sync up together, and that way you can pair and be like, hey, like, what were you thinking when you built out this service, or when you're using like API gateway here, and is there an equivalent of something that I can do using like TypeScript versus Java? All of these little things are super helpful when you're able to ask for help. But beyond just asking for help, I think what you need to do is show that you put in the work, so you know what specific questions to ask. You can't just be like, I don't know what I'm doing, please help me. You could at least kind of bring in what you've tried so far. And even if they're completely wrong, at least the other person knows that you've tried. You're not just asking for this blanket statement of just like, please help me, I don't know what I'm doing. Configuration for days. Yeah. Webpack is I don't know. I think Webpack can get a little messy. I really like Rollup and some other types of bundlers, but I think Webpack has been very, very popular, which a lot of people have been using. So it's good to know, and it is what it is. How can I improve programming logic? Practice. Honestly, it sounds really dumb and simple, but sometimes the simple advices are the best. You just got to keep practicing. And through experience, you're going to know like, oh, what kind of functions do I need to use when I need to do XYZ? Even practicing those leak code questions made me realize, oh, I don't really use too many like for loops and while loops. But in certain instances, it actually is a better API or like array API to use over like a for each or map or anything like that. I think one thing that leak code practice helped me, or one thing that leak code really helped me practice again, was using while loops more. I realized I don't use while loops at all, but yeah, I'm pretty I'm enjoying it. I enjoyed it when I was actually learning, prepping for the interviews. Yeah, I'll take you up on that offer. It's a fun one. It's a fun one. Front end developer making full stack applications. What can go wrong? But yeah, thanks for dropping by, Sid. I'll probably be signing off in a few as well. But any last minute questions, everyone? Well, hopefully everyone's hopefully everyone has had a good weekend. Make sure you enjoy your rest because Monday is tomorrow. Oy, I am not very good at live streaming, am I? Oh, I'm also curious. Is there any preference for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday for live streaming? Well, if you spelled face correctly, I would have considered it, but Mondays. I heard Mondays are usually pretty bad. That's so interesting. All right, I'll consider it. Yeah, have a great rest of the weekend, you too, Tess. Honestly, thanks for dropping by, everyone. I think this was a really fun topic to talk about, and hopefully, me sharing my imposter syndrome that I'm going through right now is bringing anyone else that's feeling a little bit more relief. You know, everyone kind of goes through it, and I think how you handle it is really important. Yeah, even though I'm like smiling and laughing, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. Eventually, you'll figure it out. It's just code. Ask for help when necessary, and honestly, that's the best you can do. And I don't know. I think so many people are so scared to ask for help or show a little bit of weakness or crack in the armor, saying that I don't know how to do certain things. But as a software engineer, you're not expected to know everything, and I think that's an important thing to kind of understand, at least even as an experienced developer or as a new developer. So yeah. Oh, I'm also going to be dropping a video on Tuesday and Friday. So stay tuned for that this week. I still need to figure out some of my social stuff that I want to post on Twitter and whatnot. But yeah, stay tuned for Tuesday and Friday. And I will not be actually live this next weekend because I'm going to be out of town. But hopefully, this is kind of why I want to squeeze this one in. But it's really good to see everyone. And yeah, have a good one. All right, guys. I'll see you later. Peace.